Do you ever catch yourself talking too much during a sales appointment? Chances are you probably have been. I know I'm guilty of this all the time. When do you stop talking? When do you proceed straight to the sale? When do you pass go and collect $200? When do you just ask that closing question? Guess what? You don't have to wait till the end of your proposed sales process or your intro form or your consultation. Sometimes you can propose a sale right in the middle of it. Today I want to talk to you guys about buying signals, how to recognize when a person's ready to buy and when they're not ready to buy. This is an important skill to work on because it can save you a lot of time, energy, and effort, and it can also prevent you from an embarrassing attempt at a close when a person's not ready. Hey, I'm Jeff, mentor for Two Brain Business. If this is your first time stopping by the channel and you're looking for content to help improve your business and your life, you might want to stick around. So consider subscribing to the channel. Smash a like on this video, ring that notification bell so you can see when we drop more videos. All right, let's get to it. So what are buying signals? Buying signals are little tidbits that your prospects, your potential clients, drop throughout the sales conversation that you have with them. So if you're doing an intro process, a consultation, a quick phone call, whatever it is, you're listening for these signals to know when the buyer is ready to buy. And they're actually easier to identify than you might believe. We're going to get into them today. So the first two buying signals I want to share with you guys are a little more subtle because they're not things that people say. They're how they say it. They're how they act. They're how they move. We're talking about physical and auditory cues. So these buying signals are sometimes nigh imperceptible to the not so savvy salesperson, but it's something that you have to learn to recognize. So let me give you the physical cues first. Physical cues for buying signals are pretty simple. You can generally tell, I promise you already know this, you can generally tell when somebody's interested in a conversation that you're having. What we're looking for here would be openness. No crossed arms. Okay, this is I'm not interested. Uncrossed arms, I might be interested. Leaning in, meaning they're literally leaning into that conversation and listening and paying attention to everything you say. So if you're doing a consultation at a desk or a table, they might lean on the table, put their elbows down, move their head closer to you so they have an opportunity to hear everything that you're saying. This is a very, very important buying signal that you should be looking for. Fidgeting. Fidgeting is a big problem. If they're fidgeting, if they're looking around the room, if they're looking at the door, check their eye line. Where is their eyesight at? If they're looking at the door, that's a signal they want to leave. That is the opposite of a buying signal. That's an exit signal. Now they want to go. So we need to draw their attention back. What do we do? If they are giving you those exit signals, leaving signals, then you need to snap them back to reality and get them interested again. So what do? You literally do just that. Snap them back to reality. Make a sound, a loud noise, hit the table, move around, grab your paper or whatever you're filling out your notes on, pull it away from them, push it towards them. Make a move that physically engages them. Don't punch them, right? Obviously that's not okay, but you get what I'm saying. Like, get them physically involved in the conversation. Hey, will you hold this for a second? Cool, I'll be right back. Like, just get up and move around. Or you might want to just ask them if they're interested in what you're talking about and draw them back in. Mrs. Jones, it seems like you're a little distant right now. If you don't mind me asking, is everything I'm talking about making sense? Is this something that's interesting to you? That's a fair question. If they're not interested, you're wasting your time and you're not getting any closer to making a sale, so why are you doing it? Another example of a question you can ask is, hey, Mrs. Jones, I just want to make sure, you seem kind of rushed to get out of here. Are you okay as far as your schedule goes? Are we okay on time today? Do you need me to cut it short? That's a fair question. She feels busy. If you ask this question, you're letting her know like, hey, it's no big deal. You're kind of taking pressure, maybe stress and anxiety off of her back. And now she might be more open to having this conversation with you. Could go a long way. What about auditory cues? Now we're listening for things like voice inflection as this person talks to you. So we're still not to what they actually say, but auditory cues are important as well. For example, good auditory cue would be if they're monotone, if they're a little laid back, kind of just really overly relaxed about this conversation, then they're probably not that interested. If they're using voice inflection like I am right now, where the pitch of their voice raises, the volume of their voice raises, they're enunciating more, they're leaning in, they're hanging on words longer, then that is showing some interest. They're like, oh yeah, tell me more about that. What is this thing over here? Talk to me about personal training, right? Things like that. Those are buying signals. Those are auditory cues that you should be listening for. So let's move to what they actually say. So we know there's physical and auditory cues that we've been looking for and listening for. What about what they actually say? So when it comes to things they say that would lead me to believe that they're ready to buy, there are the obvious things like, okay, cool, where do I sign, right? You might even say it jokingly. That's a buying signal, if I've ever heard one. That's the most obvious one there is. But there might be simpler ones, like, that sounds interesting. Yeah, I think that's something I would like. Ooh, maybe if my friend did this with me, I'd be on board. Things like that, those are buying signals too. They seem kind of obvious on the surface, but how many times have you heard something like that and just kept steamrolling through your script or your consultation? Like, you don't have to do that. You're wasting time now. And sometimes that can be off-putting to your potential client and cause them not to sign up today. You're like, oh, he just kept dancing around. He had to explain everything to me. It felt like I was being sold. Versus if you're rolling through this and they're like, yes, 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 checks all these boxes for me. This sounds good to me. Yeah, like this is all great. And you say, good, so it's something you're interested in getting started with today? They say, yeah, like how much is it? Which, by the way, how much is it is a buying signal. Too many people I know in business take how much is it, what's the price, as this negative question. Why would you be mad that somebody asked you how much your service is? That's what you sell. That's the most obvious buying signal there is in the world. What's the price? They're not qualified out of the conversation yet. They're not an unqualified lead. They just want to know the price, which means they've seen your product or service and it looks interesting enough to them or compelling enough to them. Your message is compelling enough to them that they are considering buying it. They just need to know how much it is, right? So if I get a person who says, how much is this? Especially if it's during a consultation, then we need to get to talking about the value of this program to them and get right to the price as quickly as we can. Now, don't make this mistake. If somebody says, how much is it? You don't just come back with how much it actually is. You need to work towards that conversation. When you hear this buying signal, you need to recognize it for what it is. This person is interested, they want to hear the price, and you will get to it. You might have to derail your planned consultation or conversation or intro session, and that's okay. So if somebody calls me out of the blue, we got a brand new lead, and they say, how much is it? What's your price? In that scenario, I'm going to try to uncover some more information from them first before we even think about talking about price. So in this example, I might say something like this. Mrs. Jones, I'm glad you asked and I'm glad you're interested. We have many programs fit for just about any budget. Here's what's going to help me if I could ask a real quick favor. What are some of the goals that you were hoping to accomplish? Or what were you hoping to accomplish with us? Another way that you could ask that. And we've essentially deflected the price question to focus on this more important question of them. Who are they? What do they want? A real life example of this is you go to buy a television. I don't know if you guys have bought TVs recently, but there's about 1 billion different kinds of them at millions of different price points. And you can't just walk into an electronics store and say, hey, guy at Best Buy, like, how much for this TV? Like, what kind of TV are you looking for? How big of a screen do you want? Do you need this specific extremely high def 4K Ultra TV that's $4,000? Or can you get away with like the new standard HD TVs that are about $500? What seems like a better fit for you? How many HDMI or USB input and outputs do you need? Or like, what are you looking for? Do you play games on it? Do you watch movies on it? Like, what are you trying to do? So for somebody to go to a gym owner and say, how much is it? When you offer personal training, nutrition, specialty programs, your group program, all these different things is not really an appropriate question. It's too wide, too broad. So you need to narrow the scope. So then you ask a very fair question of what are your goals, then I can help pinpoint the right program for you. Okay, so that's what I do externally. Internally, if somebody's already there at a consultation and we're halfway through and they say, this sounds great, how much is it? Then I will skip to the price, but I'm gonna confirm a few things first. Mrs. Jones, I'm glad you asked and I'm willing to share that with you right away. First thing I have to do is make sure that I have all my information correct so I can point you in the right direction of the appropriate program. So if you don't mind me asking, let me run through this real quick. You came in today because your goals are X, Y, and Z. Repeat their goals back to them. And we determined that these goals are important to you because of, repeat their why, right? The emotional reason they're here today. Is that correct? She'll say, yes, that is correct. We say, great. Now let's talk about our programs. I think this would be the best program for you. And we'll jump to our pricing binder, present a program, and we'll just go through the sales process from that. So it doesn't really matter if I went through all of the information that I wanted to get through on my consultation or my intro session, as long as I gathered the appropriate information that helps make a sale. What and why? If I have that, everybody wins, okay? You can jump right to the end of the appointment at this point. So there you go. There's 3 ways to really look at buying signals. There are other ways to look for buying signals. There are other things out there. There's a plethora of information on the psychology behind selling, which is something I highly recommend you nerd out on as soon as you can. If you want to check out a really good book, go check out The Psychology of Selling by Brian Tracy, and that will give you some really keen insight into the human psyche as it pertains to making sales. It's personally something I nerd out on all the time, if you can't tell. All right. Hey, hopefully this video was helpful for you. If it was, consider subscribing to the channel, smashing the like on this video, and ringing that notification bell so you can see when we post more content. Again, I'm Jeff, Two Brain Mentor, and I hope to see you here next time.